starting off with a small company and a bootstrapped approach, it's just too much. You don't want to bite off more than you can chew. And we knew what we knew. So we're experts in an area. And it really is one of those things that makes sense to, we've kind of described what we do as an inch wide and a mile deep. And having that depth of knowledge is really important. You can't just do the surface and have FX be amongst many things really, really well. That would be quite an enormous undertaking. I've never seen a company that's even close to having accomplished that. So there's some that are very good at a specific thing, and it might be digging into the cash connectivity with the banks and doing that, but then they don't understand the risk and the other stuff. Or others might be very good at the accounting piece and just checking the box, or maybe more difficult accounting scenarios. And just our area of expertise is just the depth of foreign exchange on both the data side and the process side, and understanding the corporate environment really well. So that's what we brought to the table, and that's what we decided to pursue, as opposed to being a Me Too kind of solution in areas that we thought were plenty well served or oversaturated. So yeah, it's just what we knew we could focus well on, and kind of sticking to our knitting, I guess. A lot of folks struggle with getting the right information from their ERP system or systems. So FX is all based on where transaction currency detail is different from the functional currency in any given entity. And that's both on the balance sheet side and the income statement side. So that information exists in the ERP. It's not part of an out of the box report from, SAP or Oracle or any other ERP system. So we know how to get it out, but just as importantly, play it back in a digestible way. So you're not just left with a big extract of millions of lines of data that's very clunky. So part of it is getting that data and cleansing that data, understanding where there's some potential garbage in, garbage out issues. Understand we have a paper that just talks about the top 5 issues with SAP implementation. So choices that the IT team or the whole company may have made decades prior, that they didn't really know what the ramifications were, but Treasury feels the pain of some decisions that were maybe not optimal in terms of how data was handled or presented or tracked. So if someone ticked a certain box or didn't tick a certain box, that has ramifications as to what you can see and cannot see. So we know how to fix those issues. Now we've seen some companies that have, I think maybe one that might have had all 5 of our top 5 issues with their SAP implementation. But ultimately it's, their databases. We know how to get to the right information in these databases, and fix things that are potentially broken. And it's just that depth of knowledge that is just, others just don't do this. So other solutions are really waiting for someone to, put your exposure here, and then we'll take it from there. But what is that initial exposure? If you don't get that right, nothing downstream is going to make any sense. There's major pain points that almost every company has around either the data or the process of FX risk management. And we are just, we solve them both in a very, very deep way. So no one size fits all, put your exposures here and best of luck to you. We dig into all the details, all the corner cases for both, where it impacts both data and process, and we solve it. Part of what, once we have that data, that gives us the ability to get into some analytics that are helpful in understanding your results or helping drive the right business decisions that others just cannot do. So it's kind of the data and the results analytics go hand in hand. The quality of one leads to the quality of the other. And knowing what data analytics are important, beyond just the check the box type of stuff. So we really, end up partnering with our customers and, Treasury, and then helping them explain things to the CFO and others that are stakeholders in a way that is meaningful. They can understand these results and, understand from a planning perspective what makes sense compared to last year, what they should expect. Don't expect a 0% impact year to year. That's not what hedging does. It buys you time and smooths things out, but it doesn't eliminate FX. So you need to understand the environment that you're in. That level of interaction with our customer and to give them that level of understanding, nobody else is doing that. The consequence of not managing well was just the unexplained results and a really, I guess ultimately something where you're missing your quarterly earnings forecast because of FX. So that's a big no-no. CFOs don't ever really want to talk about FX on an earnings call. They feel like they've already lost if they're playing defense and doing that. So to the extent that you've had, volatility that way exceeds your planned volatility or buffer, that's what needs to be avoided. So we basically solve that by, improving all aspects that led up to that, understanding what their exposures were to begin with, having a better process, better forecasting process, better understanding of what the guidance should be or what the predicted FX impacts will be for future quarters, future years, depending on how long they're hedging, having the right starting point, very important. And then minimizing the deviation from that initial plan or starting point. Once you have those two combined, then you're far less likely to have any nasty surprises. So that's ultimately what you want to have is kind of like a umpire referee in a professional match. You don't want to see them or hear them if you can avoid it. If they're getting too much attention on them, something's wrong. And that's kind of the same thing with foreign exchange. If you're not having to talk about it on an earnings call, that's good. Talking about the analytics is really the light bulb moment. On the balance sheet side, the pain point of remeasurement or evaluation of one number and your hedging of a different number and the net of the two, which you hope to be zero or close to zero, is really far away. And most companies can explain there's 4 points that are part of that, and they can explain that. But the rest to them is this big known other bucket. And once we take that big known other and then break it down into its components and explain every bit of it, that's the big aha moment, certainly on the balance sheet side. And that's kind of their, it's a huge sigh of relief because that's really a monthly scorecard that they always get and are fearing a bad grade. Kind of aha moments on the cash flow hedging side is a little bit more in terms of incorporating with the overall plan and the logic of that and a little bit more bridging that gap with FP&A. And then having the understanding of then how really FX works its way through the whole organization and in a logical way that can often be an aha moment as well. I think for me, some of the most satisfying moments at AtlasFX are those conversations maybe with the treasurer that is often not understanding all the details behind the issues with FX and the risk management, but knows that they kind of need to understand things and explain it either to their to the CEO or just have a better understanding of what the FX risk what that environment is doing to them. So being able to kind of come up with the right reporting package for them and walking them through that and having some we do some consultation along with this stuff as well, and that's the most satisfying part of it of having those discussions with treasurers and walking through why what we have prepared for them and what we've created for them and how that helps explain their business results and gives them the ability to plan in a far more intelligent way than they had before. So really seeing them going from this feeling of helplessness when it comes to the FX landscape to, oh, okay, I get it. That makes sense. And then now I can explain this. This is what next quarter or next year as of now looks like. And this is how we track the differences and explain the differences. And once they see that understanding of how it all comes together, that's really satisfying.